Hi guys and welcome. My name is Dawn Hunter and I have some really cool tips to show you in Excel 2010 regarding formulas. The first thing we'll do is we'll talk about formula syntax, basically how you write a formula. Then we'll dive right in to the if statement, the VLOOKUP, using if error, and also date functions. This is going to be so much fun. All right, so let's take a look. The first thing that I want to do is talk to you about actually writing the formulas. I want to show you what is called our formula syntax. Whenever you're writing a formula inside of Excel, there is a syntax, which basically means how you write it so that Excel understands what it is that you want. So the first thing that you're always going to have is your function name. You have easy functions like sum or count or average. And then you have some of the more advanced functions like the if function or VLOOKUP. So we'll have the function name first. Remember that there is not any case sensitivity when it comes to Excel, so you do not have to worry about that. Function name first, and then inside of the parentheses, it's what's called the argument. Now, this is not when you're fighting back and forth, even though sometimes you feel like you want to fight back and forth when it comes to Excel. But in the argument, this is what you tell Excel what you want to do. These are just the cell references that you are trying to manipulate. Now, we'll get into more of talking about the different types of arguments. Some arguments, like your sum function, only have one argument or one parameter in its argument. We'll look at some functions today that have multiple parameters. That was easy, right? All about the syntax. Anytime you want to write a function inside of Excel, function name, inside of parentheses, the argument, and then you are on your merry little way. Alrighty guys, so let's talk about this. I have a document here, a spreadsheet, with some author information on it. And what I want to do is I want to be able to give certain people a bonus. I want to be able to give certain people a bonus. So if my authors have sold more than 400,000 books, then I want to give them a bonus of, let's say, $5,000. I want to give them $5,000. So if they've sold more than 400,000 books, I want to give them $5,000. So here's what we have to do. We could step by step, line by line, take a look at each one of these and try to decide whether or not we want to give these people a bonus based off of these numbers here. Or we can have a handy dandy formula that will do it all for us. So let's take a look. I'm going to show you the syntax once again. We will write a formula called the if statement. The if function is a logical function that will allow you to have Excel make decisions for you. So let's take a look at how this is written. So equals if, following along with our syntax here. If is our function name. Our argument is, of course, always inside of parentheses. The first argument is our logical test. I should say the first parameter is our logical test. This is the question that you're asking. What are you trying to get Excel to figure out for you? The logical test will always return a true or a false answer. So true, it is over 400,000, or false, it is not over 400,000. The second parameter is going to be your value if true. So if that logical test turns out to be true, what is it that you want Excel to do? Now, this can be in the form of text. So you can say good job inside of quotes. That would be the result of that test. Or it can be a calculation where I can say, okay, if it's true, then I want to multiply this times 15%. I want to give a 15% increase. Or I can give it a static number like 5,000. And it will return that answer for me. The last parameter is my value if false. value if false. And notice I close the parentheses. Always close the parentheses. The value if false works the same as the value if true. So that if I need to, again, put in a string of text, that's fine. If I need a calculation, that's fine also. Or if I need a static number, I can also do that. Now, let's take a look at it in action. Now, remember what I said here. I may fluctuate on the numbers a little bit, but if my authors have sold more than 400,000 books, I want to give them a $5,000 bonus. Now, I have to do this in Excel language so that Excel understands what it is that we are talking about. So here in cell R2, I'm going to type in equals if and open my parentheses. Notice you get the syntax right down here in a little screen tip. I love Excel for doing that. So my logical test is that I have to figure out if the numbers of books sold is greater than 500,000, I'm sorry, that was $400,000, right? So I'm going to say if L2 is greater than 400,000. L2 greater than 400,000. So what Excel is going to do is it's going to evaluate this information to see if it's greater than 400,000. And it'll give you a true or false answer there. Comma. If it's true, I want to give this author $5,000. So what I'm going to do here in my value if true area, I'm going to type in 5,000. If it's false, we'll play around with this. If it's false, I'll say, let's say work harder. How about that? In quotes, I put work harder. And then I close my parentheses. Once I press enter, it will evaluate that for me. So this one is over 400,000, so this person gets the bonus. Now, I can copy this formula down to the other cells, and guess what? I have a couple of work harders here. Let's take a look at this one, our second one here. It's evaluating if this number is over 400,000. It is not, so it used that value if false. Good stuff, huh? Now let's take a look at the VLOOKUP. The VLOOKUP, of course, is a data mining formula that goes and finds things for you. So here's what we'll do. We'll take a look at the syntax for the VLOOKUP. Of course, we have the function name once again. The first parameter is going to be what's called the lookup value. The lookup value, guys, is the unique identifier, what it is that you're looking for, and the information that you'll pull from it. So you're just looking for your unique identifier to go there. Your unique identifier goes into that lookup value. The next thing that you'll take a look at is the table array. I'll capitalize that for you. Table array means where's the area that you want Excel to look for that lookup value, that unique identifier. Where are you going to find that unique identifier? The next thing that you'll grab is called the column index number. This is Excel asking you which column are you trying to pull information out of, and it has to be a number. It has to be a number. The final thing that you have is called the range lookup. This is where you tell Excel whether you have an approximate match or if it's an exact match. All right, let's look at our data again. So we have this table here with our author IDs, which are our unique identifiers. I'm going to switch over to this sheet because I have a listing of author IDs, and all I need to do is to be able to pull which state they are from. I'm going to be able to do that quite easily by using the VLOOKUP. This is going to require me to have to move backwards and forward between the two sheet tabs right down here at the bottom. All right, so let's take a look at it. I'm going to type in equals VLOOKUP. My lookup value, my unique identifier, is going to be found here in cell A2. So I'm going to use A2, comma. My table array is over on the other worksheet. That table that we were just looking at, that's where we need to find this information. So I'm going to go back to the author sheet. And here I'm going to click in and grab this entire table. Let me edit my formula just a bit. All right, guys, so when I do this, because I'm going to copy this formula down, I need to make A1 through R839 an absolute reference. Notice that the dollar signs have been placed on my data. The next thing I need to do is tell it which column I'm going to find that state information in. If I'm not mistaken, it is going to be in column 3. So I just drop in the number 3, comma. The last thing I need to do is tell Excel whether this is an approximate match or if it's an exact match. Notice this. Now, this goes against all logic, but just to remember it. It will be true if you want an approximate match. It will be false if you want an exact match. I'm going to choose false for the exact match. Close my parentheses and press enter. Notice here, I did not pull in a state, so let's double check to see what I did wrong. If I go back to that author sheet, my state is actually in column I, which would be 9. So even though I have hidden columns here, it still reads this as the 9th column. So let's adjust my formula just a bit. I'll change that 3 to a 9. And now I get a state. Voila, no fooling Excel. Alrighty, so now I can copy this formula straight down, and I get the states for each one of these authors. Cool beans. Okay, so while we're here, I want to show you another formula. It is called if error. If error. Now, if error is another one of the logical functions, and here's what it looks like. So my syntax just says if error, and then you put in the value, comma, and then the value if error. So if there's an error, what do you want to happen there? And what we're going to do is we're going to take that VLOOKUP and nest it inside of the if error, so that if something goes wrong with my VLOOKUP, it will automatically change the data for me. This is good. This is good news. Let's take a look. I'm going to purposely change my author ID here to an ID that does not exist in the table. And notice what happens. I get this little error message. Sometimes, especially if you're dealing with numbers, you don't want to have an error message there. Perhaps you just want to show a 0. So that's where if error will come into play. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to rewrite the formula. I'm just going to wrap the formula inside of if error. Watch my screen. Just clicking in front of the VLOOKUP, and I'm going to type in if error. If error. So notice I have my value as the VLOOKUP. This is my entire value. After the VLOOKUP, I'm going to type in comma, and if there's an error, I want it just to show a 0. So I'm going to type in 0. Close the parentheses and press enter. So the if error, instead of identifying that, that error message that was there, it will actually give you another value. I can even say, watch this, I'm going to modify it again. I can say inside of quotes, check ID, meaning check the author ID. And now that's the message that will appear there inside of that cell. Cool beans? This is awesome stuff. All right, so another thing that I want to show you, and the very last thing that I want to show you, is some date functions, and I'm just going to scroll over here just so you can see. I often run into people who need to have a date, just a normal date, and they want a formula that's going to update for every day that they open up this file. There's a really, really simple formula. There's actually two. It's called the today function, and I can just type in this, equals today, open and close the parentheses, and press enter, and you'll get today's date. You can also use a function that is called now, equals now, open and close parentheses, press enter, and you get today's date along with the current time. Awesome stuff, right? You can even use these inside of your formulas. So if I needed 90 days from here, I can type in equals the result of H2 plus 90. And that will give me 90 days out. Well, guys, I hope you learned a lot today inside of this tutorial. Thank you very, very much for hanging out with me and learning the top 5 tips for formula syntax, the if statement, the VLOOKUP, if error, and your date function. Have a great day.